Hey guys, today we're going to be reviewing the iPhone 7 Plus and see how it holds up in 2020. Let's go. Before we begin, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to this video. It really does help the channel. First, let's start off with design. So the back of this phone has a 7000 series aluminum, and I got mine in gold, but there's also other colors that you can pick from. There's black, jet black, gold, rose gold, and silver. So instead of space gray, they named it black. And there was also a jet black, so I think it looked better than the black version in my opinion, but it was still pretty easy to get dirty, so that's why most people tried to avoid it. And it also has a dual camera setup, so that kind of changed the design of it. But other than that, it's pretty much the same as the iPhone 6s Plus and the iPhone 6 Plus. The display is the same, the bezels are the same, and yeah, so especially like I mentioned before, this has 7000 series aluminum, so it's going to be more durable than the iPhone 6s and the iPhone 6 Plus, so that's one thing to consider. So in terms of design, as a conclusion, I would say it's still not that outdated, since we still have phones like the iPhone SE's second generation that still have this type of design, so I'm not going to complain. Let's get into performance now. So this phone features the A10 Fusion chip with 3 GB of RAM compared to 2 on the iPhone 7, so that's the smaller version. And it still holds up, to be honest with you. I mean, this is what's being used in that iPod Touch 7th generation. It's still being used in some other devices as well, so, it's not too outdated. In terms of longevity also, you're probably going to get it until like maybe iOS 15 or 16. You're probably going to keep on getting software updates, and then on top of that, you're going to get security updates. So, that's just the great thing about these iPhones. The longevity is awesome on these phones compared to Androids. The only complaint I do have about it is when you're playing games, the CPU and GPU, they start to overheat a little, and I literally mean overheat, not an understatement, like the MacBook Air that some people have been talking about, the 2020 MacBook Air, but this thing literally becomes really hot when you're playing games. Even on the previous 13.4 software update, it was just becoming hot. Even if I used like Safari or something, I only had like 2 or 3 tabs open. So yeah, that's just one thing to consider. Even like if you're transferring like files from this phone to another phone, like let's say you get a new phone and you're trying to transfer everything, this thing can become really hot. And it even gave me a temperature warning once, even like when you're playing games and stuff like that. So I wouldn't recommend playing too many games, and if you are, try not to play games that are too graphic intensive, or try not to play for more than maybe half an hour, 15 minutes or so, because that's really gonna start to make your phone really hot. I'm not saying that it's too hot to the point where you can't touch it. It's just that it's really hot to the point where you should kind of be concerned about if the device is going to be okay. And it could even give you that temperature warning like it did to me, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. But overall in performance, I would still say this phone is going strong, and with that 3 gigs of RAM, it really does help. The RAM management on it is great, and I would recommend this phone to anybody that's trying to look for a good cheap phone, along with the smaller iPhone 7. Now let's start with the cameras. So this is the first ever iPhone to feature an extra camera, so it's a dual lens setup. So that first lens, as you may know, is just to take normal photos, videos, stuff like that. But the second lens helps with zooming, so you can actually do a 2x zoom, and then you get a 10x digital zoom. So that's pretty cool. A 2x, it's going to be better quality photos thanks to that second sensor. It also helps with portrait mode, so it's the first iPhone to have portrait mode as well, built into the iPhone. And let's be real with ourselves, it's an iPhone 7 Plus, the camera is still going to be great. It shoots 4K at 30 FPS, what more could you want really from an iPhone, right? Even though the newer iPhones have 4K at 60, it's still holding up. It has 12 megapixel sensor, so that means your photos are going to be nice and clear and crisp. And the selfie camera is 7 megapixels, so it's still going to be good for FaceTime calls, Zoom calls, stuff like that, especially since we're doing that more often now. And if you're the type of person that takes a lot of selfies, this is the phone for you. This is the first iPhone to have a 7 megapixel selfie camera, so that's pretty cool. I would actually say that the cameras are still very good for 2020. And if you're on a budget and you're looking for an iPhone, this is probably the way to go so far. The cameras, you're going to be impressed with them, trust me. Since you can probably get these phones for cheap on eBay and stuff like that, or even refurbished, it kind of depends. So just shop around, see where it's cheap, and trust me, it's a good deal. This phone features a 5.5-inch display, an LCD display of course, so it's not the newer OLED displays, but I still don't mind, to be honest with you. It doesn't have True Tone, so it's kind of a bummer. If you don't know already, True Tone is pretty much just adjusting the light temperature of your display to the ambient light surrounding you. It's not really a deal breaker if you have the feature. Good, like it's a good feature, but still I wouldn't really just go for the 8 Plus or the 8 which do have the True Tone. I still wouldn't really go for those if the 7 is within your reach of price point, because it's just one feature really. It still has night shift, so you're still going to be covered from most blue light in the nighttime, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this display, it's pretty good for watching YouTube, playing games, stuff like that. It's gonna be good for almost every task since it's a 1080p display. Not even the iPhone XR has a 1080p display, but still, it's a great display. So yeah. In terms of connectivity, this iPhone 7 Plus and the iPhone 7 have support for Wi-Fi 5, and it also has LTE Advanced. I have tested the Wi-Fi and the cellular, and they both do pretty well. It's a pretty good in HTML5 as well. Phone calls sound clear and crisp. I've never had an issue with that, and coverage is also pretty good, to be honest. Since it has LTE Advanced, you're probably gonna get some more life out of it. In terms of LTE, like you're probably gonna get more longevity over something like an iPhone SE first generation, which actually doesn't have that. But this phone, it's a good buy since it has LTE Advanced. Let's talk about audio. Mic quality is good, speaker quality is good. I have nothing else to say. No, I'm just kidding. So this is the first iPhone to have stereo speakers. So there's not only the speakers that are down firing on the bottom, but the earpiece actually turns into a speaker now. So the iPhone uses the earpiece as a speaker, and all other iPhones after the iPhone 7 started using this. So that's a pretty smart move to make. It's loud. The speakers are good quality. And the microphone is also pretty good. Other people can hear me good in phone calls and FaceTime calls, stuff like that. So it's good. One of the controversial moves by Apple of this phone was the removal of the headphone jack. So this is kind of where they wanted people to buy their AirPods, even though most people really can't afford them. And personally, I didn't really like that move, but that was mainly just to make it waterproof. So I'm all in for that, as long as it's bringing one other thing to it. I really don't care, to be honest now. Even though I have to use a dongle to use my headphones now, it's still okay, I just keep it on my headphones all the time, and I just plug it in, so it's fine. The only issue with this is the fact that you can't charge and listen to music at the same time, but there are some docks online that you can buy, even at Apple's website. One is from Belkin, and you can use that to charge and listen at the same time, so that's pretty cool. Here are some cool extra features that you might want to know about. This phone is waterproof, so that means that It's the first iPhone to ever be waterproof, so that's a good thing. And that's actually the reason why they took out the headphone jack, as I mentioned earlier. The next thing I want to mention is the fact that there's actually no real clicking home button. It's just a solid state home button, and you can actually pick between 3 different modes by going to settings, general, and then home button. And there's 3 different clicks that you can choose, and you can choose one that's the best to your liking. Which brings me to my next point. Restarting the iPhone or turning it off, like shutting it down fully, has actually changed now. So if you want to fully restart your phone, then you have to follow a different procedure. Previously, you would have to press the power button and the home button at the same time. But now, since the home button is a solid state, it doesn't work like that. So they have to do the power button and the volume down button. So that's just another thing to point in there. And of course, this phone has all the other standard features like Apple Pay, great cameras, and all the other stuff that you'd expect from an iPhone, the security and everything. So, would I recommend the iPhone 7 Plus in 2020? Yes, I would. It's a great option for anybody in 2020, whether it's an adult, a senior, a child, whoever it may be, that needs an iPhone. This iPhone has pretty much everything that you would need out of an iPhone, and I literally mean need, not all those extra fancy features, just need, you know. After all, phone is just for calling and stuff, but still, this phone, for the price of it, it's still an awesome phone. I would still recommend it in 2020. It's got pretty cool features, it's got pretty cool performance, it's got everything that's good, so I would recommend this in 2020, along with the smaller iPhone 7 as well. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up on this video, comment to this video if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.